I was really honoured when Diane agreed to lead this work for us. Of course, she's somebody so well known in Greater Manchester. You could hardly think of somebody who is more of this place, who has gone on to achieve great things as an Olympic athlete. In more recent times, established her charity, Diane Medal Sports Foundation, which has kind of really worked to understand the barriers that lie in front of some of the young people from our most disadvantaged communities. So there really was nobody better to lead this work for us. She's done it with a huge amount of passion, energy, commitment and care for the young people of our city region. As I say, there couldn't have been anybody better. So I'm now going to hand you over to take you through the report of the Young Persons Task Force, Diane Medal. Diane.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for those very kind words. That passion, that commitment, that energy you talk about was and continues to be a team effort. And I'm really pleased to be able to also say that on the call is Arinola, who is one of the Young Advisory Group members as part of the Young Persons Guarantee, and Wayne, a partner at Shoesmiths. I'd like to not only thank them and the wider team, but also the project team at GMCA, who have been absolutely keenly responsible for the success of the Young Persons Guarantee. So over the next few minutes or so, I'm going to share with you and reflect on some of the work that we did, how we came to the conclusions that we did, and certainly share with you the recommendations. You'll hear from Arinola, and you'll also hear from Wayne as a key partner in terms of the role that they played as well. But I'd like to start actually by thanking the Mayor. Most of you who have known Andy will know that he is relentlessly positive and focused about the futures of young people, wanting to protect and to promote them. So when he came to me way back in June and asked whether I would want to chair a young person's guarantee that would protect and promote some of the hopes and aspirations that young people had, but actually had the potential to be damaged by COVID-19, of course, it was an absolute honour for me to say yes to that. Since retiring from international athletics, I've dedicated my career to being the eyes, the ears and the mouthpiece of young people, and particularly those who are most marginalised and disadvantaged. So when we started with the work, we actually developed 3 key phases. The first phase was about identifying what does the current landscape look like already. The second area was about looking at where are the gaps, who do we need to be working with, partnering with, to ensure that we can fill those gaps as a direct result of COVID-19. And the third area was about legacy, and making recommendations back to the Mayor and his team that would ultimately have a longer lasting effect if, as we know now, that COVID wasn't going anywhere quickly. So let me just share with you this slide that you've been looking at initially. This gives you an understanding of what happened during the consultation period. Over 5,000 young people took part in the consultation via digitally, but we also did a lot of face-to-face contact with young people who we knew wouldn't actually engage with us via digital platform. And you can see there, can't you, the key themes that were emerging early on. We asked young people a simple question: which of these is most important to you right now? And you can see there that jobs and training was a key area right at the start of this consultation when we started in June. 40% of young people were already identifying jobs and training as a key issue to them. When we looked at the other areas, what do they need in terms of support almost immediately? Well, it was about employment opportunities. Again, 65% of young people told us they were absolutely concerned about the employment or lack of employment opportunities available to them. And that final question was around the virus. What has the coronavirus pandemic affected the most in terms of your life? 30% of young people talk to us about education and training. So there was a very consistent theme in terms of what we really needed to focus on. And 4 key themes really came out of that consultation. The first was about keeping connected. That was about digital connectivity as well as transport, being able to move around safely across Greater Manchester. The second area was staying well. Young people told us that they needed mental health support and they needed it quickly. They needed our mental health services to work harder for them with this new environment that we were all coping with. The third area was making effective transitions into the world of education or out of the world of education and into the world of work. And the final theme that emerged almost immediately during the consultation was removing economic barriers. So this is what this I suppose slide tells us. It tells us the story about some of the barriers that exist for young people. And so armed with that information and a brilliant team of 24 co-chairs who worked alongside me to reflect and represent the consultation, we were able to roll our sleeves up and get to work in terms of how do we fill the gaps and begin to drive up commitments that will help support young people in terms of those needs. And very quickly, we had a number of partners who we spoke to, stakeholders from digital, education, health, and across the whole range of where young people needed support, coming to us and saying what they could commit to, tangibly commit to, that would help young people in terms of those hopes and aspirations. And over 1,000 commitments have already been confirmed and are already being put into action. So that's been a real success for us as part of the guarantee. So how and where can young people access these commitments then? Part of the consultation and what young people consistently told us was, although there are some brilliant things going on across Greater Manchester already, they didn't know about them. And if they did know about them, they didn't know where they could access them. So this gave us an opportunity to repurpose the Greater Manchester Apprenticeship and Career Service, which was an already existing platform. And what we've done as a result of the Young Person's Guarantee is repurpose it. We've made it work not only in terms of jobs and opportunities and apprenticeship opportunities, but a central platform where young people can access what they need in terms of education, in terms of sport, digital. So we've transformed the way young people can access those opportunities. The commitments, as I said, have been extensive. We do need more, but now businesses have an outlet to be able to make those tangible commitments through GMAX. And as a result of that, we now have some strong recommendations, which we hope will be promoted. And you can have a look at them here. They sit within the 4 themes that I described. You can see here, keeping connected, staying well, making effective transitions, and reducing economic inequalities. I am going to come back to those recommendations, because what I'd like to do now is give one of our young advisory group members an opportunity to share with you her experience of being able to shape and influence the Young Person's Guarantee. And she will be followed by Wayne Nash from Shoesmiths, who will share with you what it was like to be a partner and part of the discussions to work up some of these tangible commitments. So Ariola, if you could share with us your role as part of a youth advisory group member, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed being a part of the youth advisory group. We've been able to make so much change, and I was inspired to get involved because I have benefited from mentorship, and I've benefited from charitable organizations like Young Identity, and I really believe that we need more organizations like that. So this is why I got involved with the Young Person's Guarantee, and it's been amazing. I was involved with effective transitions, So that was mainly about reskilling, retraining, getting involved in basically finding mentors for people so that young people could really grow and experience like life, because this COVID-19 has really like changed a lot, and a lot of the young people are afraid of their future prospects, their employment prospects. So that's why I initially got involved with the Young Persons Guarantee, and it's been amazing. My basically what I put forward has been listened to. Diane has listened. We had a group chat and we were able to speak about what young people needed, and a lot of young people were afraid that their futures would be hurt by COVID-19, because a lot of young people, they weren't able to do training that they were able to do before. A lot of things stopped. So it was that uncertainty. We were trying to stop young people feeling so uncertain. So this guarantee was able to like stop that. And I'm really happy that I was able to be involved. It was amazing. The main thing I wanted is for young people to be able to have mentors, because I had amazing mentors, and that is what inspired me to get involved. And we were able to collate an experience that we have websites where young people can check different training opportunities, different apprenticeships. We discussed mental health for young people, because this pandemic, people have been isolated, and it's been really helpful, and I've been really happy to be involved. It's been amazing. We've been listened to, the young people's been, we have been listened to, and it's crazy how we only developed this in a few months, and this is the progress that we've made. And I'm definitely sure that this is really going to help young people, and I'm so happy I've been involved. I'm a student at the moment, and I've seen the changes COVID-19 has had on young people, and it's been scary. A lot of young people have been afraid for their mental health, afraid for their futures. A lot of apprenticeships have stopped. A lot of businesses have been affected, but this actually creates accountability for businesses to help young people, and for us to have more of a collaborative response. And I'm really happy that I've been involved, and it's been amazing, and I really hope our recommendations are listened to, and I truly believe they will be. And yeah, I've really enjoyed being a part of the Young Persons Guarantee. It's been amazing, and actually having a hand in young people's futures and a hand in my own future, because I am a young person, and it's just been amazing to be involved. Like, I'm really happy I've been involved, and this has given me so many new skills. I've been able to see how much rich history Manchester has, how much potential we have in Manchester for us to even create this guarantee in a few months. I'm so happy to be involved. So I've had an amazing experience, and I know this guarantee has so much potential, and I'm ready for it to be kickstarted. So, yes.
Thank you, Aranola. We are all ready for it to be kickstarted and, you know, get those recommendations implemented. And you said something really key there. You said many things that are clearly important, but it was when you were talking about we had to listen. We had to listen to what young people were telling us, and then act on the needs of what we had heard. So that co-production by the Youth Advisory Group was empowering and gave us an opportunity to transform the way we actually look at young people's services and needs in the future. But in order for those needs actually to be met, we needed partners who could deliver and work alongside us and bring them on that journey with us. And this is where our partners came in, such as Shoesmiths and many others who, when you read the report and the recommendations, you will see how many stood up and supported us. So Wayne, I wonder whether you could give us an insight into what it was like to be part of the Youth Task Force team, particularly around your area of expertise, and how we work together to not only face the challenges, but also come up with a solution that didn't overburden businesses, because of course you were also going through difficult changes and uncertain times yourself. So how were you able to help and promote some of the needs that we were hearing as part of the Young Persons Guarantee?
Sure, thanks, Dan. I guess from our perspective, and I suspect our experience is much the same of many other businesses across Greater Manchester. We were already on a journey with social mobility, our commitment within the community, and looking to do more. And we set our sort of compass in that direction a few years ago with a particular initiative we were involved in. But then the deliverability of that and our commitment was the sort of the blocker. And I think many businesses in a similar situation have all these good intentions, fantastic plans, but the actual implementation of that is the real head scratcher. And my experience was that from our perspective, and I suspect from many other business perspectives as well, that they were looking at implementing their plans in isolation. So when our paths crossed, I think I've described it to you as our light bulb moment, which was in one place. We had this sort of oven ready solution to a problem that I think many businesses experience across the region, which is how can we do this efficiently? How can we harness the collective good that's going on individually and point it in the right direction where it will be most effective, most powerful. And so I was overjoyed when we had the opportunity to get involved with the task force. I think what really makes it stand out for me, two things. There's never been anything like this for the business community, to my knowledge, where you've got this centralised repository for a hub for connection of the business community and young people across Greater Manchester. That's never existed before, and I think that's transformational in this initiative. But also it's the authenticity. I know you touched upon that, Diane, within the paper itself, but often businesses we think we know best, and a lot of the initiatives we come up with are top down. But what I love about this particular initiative is it's the young people have informed it, they've shaped it. We've listened, and it's been a real eye opener for me to sit on these calls and to hear the needs of the young people as they see it spelt out to us, and that makes us more nimble, more able to react in a meaningful way, in a way which we wouldn't have otherwise been, but for that engagement with the young people. So it stands out as a very different initiative, something which I would implore the business community to get behind. And I think that's the next stage of this now is launching this, getting the business community to get on board with it. But it has so many benefits, I think, to the business community, not least in the efficiency of how this is all put together. But the output, the powerful output of harnessing all of that good that I mentioned that the business community is already doing through one channel.
Thank you, Wayne. That's really helpful to hear that. We were able to positively bring businesses such as yours on side with us during a very, very difficult time that most businesses were experiencing themselves. As I said, we do have 1,000 commitments, tangible commitments that are already impacting and making a positive difference to young people's lives, but we do need more. We know now that COVID isn't going anywhere quickly, yet at the same time, young people's futures have the potential to continue to be negatively affected, and so we will continue to seek that level of partnership. Just before I hand back to you, Andy, I would like to just go through these recommendations which really reflect on the impact, the consultation in terms of what young people have told us that they need. So I mentioned to you that GMAX will help connect more young people to support that is available for them. Organisations across Greater Manchester have made a brilliant start in terms of the commitment, but in order for us to continue to get it right for them, we will be seeking more support from like-minded partners and businesses. So let's look at keeping connected then. Young people told us that they needed more digital kit. They needed connectivity and support to maximise the use of that, and they needed more safe access to points in terms of travel connections, both physical and digital, in their localities to connect to opportunities and to get guidance. Now, we are already having some very, very positive conversations with digital partners, and I'm hopeful that pretty soon we can make some announcements that will take us further in terms of what young people told us they needed within that area. Staying well. So young people need more control over shaping and delivering the services and opportunities that they need, but that they also want in their localities, on their doorstep, that they can access safely and quickly. So making transitions. Young people told us that they actually want leaders in education and training to be on the front foot, not the back foot, in ensuring that the whole learning offer across Greater Manchester is transformed in response to the structural changes happening, so that businesses can be more reactive, so that educational establishments can be more reactive to their needs when they are making those transitions. And finally, in reducing economic inequalities, our recommendation, based on what young people told us, is that they need more diverse and inspirational leaders, role models and mentors, which Arinola consistently said in her experience made a huge impact on who she is today and who she will be in the future. There's not enough role models who are diverse, that are inspiring our young and marginalised young people. Young people need more employers to be supported, to be able to better connect with the full diverse of talented young people across GM, and give them who are currently marginalised the skills, the confidence to be able to take full advantage of the opportunities that are available to them. On Twitter, we will be showing a couple of videos where you can hear from young people themselves what they said in terms of those opportunities and those recommendations. But I hope that gives you a sense, a clear sense, Andy and everyone on the call, in terms of the recommendations across those 4 themes. And as Arinola said, we are very keen to roll our sleeves up and get these implemented. And I'll hand back to you now, Andy, and I'm happy to take any questions as they come through.
Thanks so much, Diane. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Arinola. You've brought a real burst of positivity today at the end of a dark year. And what kind of shines through and what you've all said is a sense of just not going to be beaten by COVID, determined to get things back on track. It has been a rough year, but I think we can say to young people today, because of the work of this task force, 2021 is going to be a better year for you in Greater Manchester. And the fact that you've put this work in, Diane, over these difficult months, I think has put us in a really good position to face up to the new year with a lot of clarity about what we're trying to do for our younger people. They have been more disrupted than anyone else. I see that in my own family. Plans have changed, employment ideas have changed, everything has changed around them. And obviously, in some ways, young people's mental health and well-being has suffered as a result of that. But this is all about lifting them back up. And I think you've done that today in terms of the way you've put forward your thoughts. So Arinola, you said something when I was listening about you hope the recommendations will be listened to. And I understand where you're coming from, because sometimes people like me and organisations like the one I'm in today are good at commissioning all these reports, but then they kind of sit on a sort of shelf behind me, and people say, well, what was the point? What was all that about? Well, I want to give you confidence today that this is different and this will lead to the action that you're rightly calling for. So there are some things that both I and the 10 leaders of Greater Manchester have agreed today to begin implementation of this report. Diane presented to us at the Combined Authority early today, and we got agreement to things that will make a real difference to young people in our city region. The first is we've agreed today to extend our No Child Goes Hungry scheme. So under that staying well recommendation, Diane, or the reducing inequalities, I suppose it touches on both, doesn't it? We've agreed today to build on a pilot that we launched during the half term. Remember when Marcus Rashford couldn't persuade the government to get stuff in place for that half term? We developed a card, a food access card for our young people, and we distributed about 1,000 of them across Greater Manchester. Basically, this was a card that would enable people to go into a shop and get a healthy meal, and we're grateful to the co-op who helped us with that. But we've agreed today that we're going to massively expand it over the Christmas holiday period. So we're going to have 3,000 cards, 300 in every borough. And these will help families who otherwise are falling through the gaps in public support, because there are still people who are not receiving any help, or whose parents are self-isolating, or who are waiting for their universal credit to come through, these cards will help them get food and support through the Christmas period. So we're really glad to be able to do that. This is our emergency food card pilot scheme, and the Mayor's charity has kindly stepped forward and helped support us with this. Alongside that, we are going to give some targeted support to families, so Christmas hampers, some vouchers that can be used in food clubs, and a range of other things. So we're backing the Greater Manchester No Child Goes Hungry scheme, and we're going to build it into something bigger next year. But Diane, I hope you see that today as evidence of our commitment. And I have said directly to Marcus Rashford that I want him to feel that his home area is making him proud, and is an area that he can point to as he goes around the country, championing all of the work, the amazing work he's doing on combating child hunger and child poverty. So that's something we've signed off today. But there is something else we've agreed today, and that is to extend the Hour Pass, which is our free bus travel, for a further year. So it was a 2-year pilot when it originally was launched, and it was due to come to an end in the middle of 2021. What we've agreed today is that it will be extended for a further year, so from September 21 to the end of that academic year. And Diane, can I just explain what this is about? This is about a message to those year 11s in Greater Manchester, and I hope they get this very directly from me. This is a commitment from us as Greater Manchester to you, those year 11s, and we know you've been really impacted this year in terms of the time you've had to spend out of school. We know you've been impacted in terms of the loss of time with your friends. It's been hard for you. We know you've not just had a tough year, you've just had some mocks that were really tough, because I bet a number of you have been in and out of school, and therefore you've been worrying about that. And I bet you're also now worrying about your GCSEs next year. Well, the commitment we've made to you today is that you can bank on the RPass being there for you in September 21, so that you can go to the college of your choice anywhere in Greater Manchester. That is there for you, and we're making that commitment to you today. So in that keep connected box, Diane, obviously that's the commitment we're making today, but we'll be looking to go further than that in the new year. Just to say a few further things about the commitments that you're saying going forward, because there's things we can do now, but obviously the things that we need to work with you on going forward. And we're really pleased that you'll be staying on as chair of the Young Persons Task Force to oversee the implementation of this work. I'm really grateful to Wayne and Shoesmith and all of the employers who've stood forward, and they're listed in the report. Your efforts are so much appreciated. We can't do everything through public money, given the way things are at the moment. So employers stepping forward with their opportunities, putting those opportunities on GMAX is a fantastic thing. And like Diane, I would want the message to go out to all employers in Greater Manchester. Please think of what you can do for young people, and then bring your opportunities to my team here at the Combined Authority, and we will ensure that those opportunities go on GMAX, and therefore our young people can see what's out there in the new year. And I really want to support Diane in making that call today. I also want to pick up on the challenges that some of our young people have from an inequalities point of view, particularly housing. We've also committed to a groundbreaking youth homelessness prevention pilot, and that's just gone through the Youth Combined Authority, where we'll be kind of not waiting for crisis to hit, but getting much more upstream with the young people who are at risk of homelessness. And as you'll know, we're doing a lot of work with people who've been in care in that regard. We're bringing forward a care leavers guarantee in Greater Manchester. So we've already ensured this year that anyone who's been in care can have the RPass up until the age of 21 to support them through that particular time. But we've also now got a youth homelessness prevention pilot, which we think will benefit many of them and others. And we are looking further to filling out that care leavers guarantee in the new year. So that's another commitment, Dan, we can make today. Mental health support so important, isn't it, under your Staying Well heading. And we have brought through some digital mental health services this year. But like you, I'm not sure when adults design these things, we always get them right. And that was probably true of GMAX, and that's been improved by the input of young people. I think we do need to find ways of putting young people in a position where they can influence NHS services, and particularly mental health services going forward. But given that many of them are delivered digitally, I think your point about keeping connected, I'm going to come back to that, and I'm going to finish on this point before we turn to any questions from colleagues in the media. This is crucial now, isn't it? Because so much of life is taking place in the online space. All of the opportunities are there, as we've been saying before, but also it's where the conversations have been happening this year. And if you're not in that room, if you're not in that conversation, you're missing out on so much. And I think this whole question of digital connectivity, or digital inclusion as it's sometimes called, we have to take it from the margins and really put it at the heart of everything that we're doing, because I think it's almost becoming a human right to be in that room and in that conversation and have access to the public services that have been provided online. So I see your recommendation about young people needing more kits and connectivity. Absolutely agree with that. But why don't we go a little further, you and I, Diane, and see if we can make Greater Manchester the first city region in the country to put all young people online. I think that's the call I would want to put out today. Let's get every single young person connected, every young person able to access opportunity. Every company in Greater Manchester needs to work with us on this, not just with the devices, but we've got some big tech and comms players here, communications companies. You know, we need them to help us with data that young people can afford, because I think that is a brilliant vision of a young digital city region that's going places. If we can get all young people in our city region online and able to be able to kind of find their way forward because of the opportunities that brings. So thank you, Diane. I hope that's a good starter for 10 in terms of the commitments of myself and the Greater Manchester leaders to the work that you are doing. On behalf of us all, thank you to you, to Wayne, to Arinola, to everyone who's been involved in your work. This isn't going to sit on a shelf, Arinola. It is going to make some real change happen. It's going to impact on people's lives. We're going to see to that next year. And Jimmy, I will hand over to you to take us through any questions if we've received them from colleagues in the media.
Thank you, Andy. So the first question is at 1:52. It's from Liam Gotting at Heart Radio. And it's for you, Andy, but it may be that Wayne, after you, and then Diane might also wish to comment. Liam says, young people would argue that things have already been difficult for them for quite some time. How much worse has the pandemic made it for young people to find opportunities for work across Greater Manchester?
Well, thanks very much, Liam. I think Diane's slides told that picture, didn't they? That is clearly the biggest anxiety that young people are feeling. And you're absolutely right. It was already a problem before this. I think in difficult times, it's often a case of last in, first out, isn't it? So the people who've been made redundant this year are probably more likely to be under 30. And I asked Diane very much to think about the age range right up to 30 in doing this work on the young person's guarantee. So we very much do want to come back to these issues in the new year. There is the Kickstart programme that we need to kind of expand and make available to more people. It is going to be really important to give young people hope in the new year and create jobs that offer them opportunities, hopefully, for life. So I'll give you one example, Liam. We've just discussed today the need to retrofit our homes at the Combined Authority. So if we're to be a zero carbon city region by the date of 2038, we will need to install new energy systems and new insulation in every single property in Greater Manchester, people's homes and people's offices, businesses, everything. And that means we're going to have to train a generation of young people in new skills to carry out that work. So out of this crisis comes an opportunity, doesn't it? You know, I don't think I can remember a time in the northwest of England when we were able to say to a generation coming through, if you train in these skills, in retrofitting skills and green construction skills, you could have a job for life. Doesn't happen very often, but I think it does become possible when you think about retrofitting. Because as Greater Manchester goes ahead first with 2038, the young people we train will have skills they can take to other places as they begin to catch us up. And all of our 10 local authorities are going to be backing what we are trying to do. And we hope to be able to build out a retrofitting scheme that will have thousands of job opportunities going forward. So thank you for your question, Liam. You know, it has been a tough year, but I think you can start to see the green shoots emerging.
Would you like me to just add to that? So I think absolutely there's a clear link between young people or opportunities for young people and the pandemic. One of the pieces of work that we have been looking at on the back of this particular initiative, the Task Force initiative, is through the Department of Work and Pensions across Greater Manchester, the local job centres, and dovetailing a pilot that was
Sorry, Wayne, you've muted. You were right unmuted. I don't know what happened there.
Sorry.
You were talking about the pilot, Wayne.
Yeah, so we've been working on a pilot with the Department for Work and Pensions across Greater Manchester that will dovetail back into GMAX. We're just flashing that out at the moment, but in those conversations with the DWP, they're saying to me that for the first time this year, as a direct consequence of COVID, there's been a sharp rise in university graduates that are now going to the job centres looking for employment opportunities that haven't been seen before. So there's a direct correlation there between what's been going on over the course of this summer and the impact it's had on opportunities. So yeah, there's a direct link there.
I've just come in there and just talk about the fact that opportunity and things that are available to young people now sounds really positive. We know we've got the backing of our businesses, but I think there are a few layers a little bit deeper than that we have to consider in terms of Liam's question in the sense of it's already been difficult for them for quite some time, and how much worse has the pandemic made it for young people? Well, what young people told me and my team when we were speaking to them is their confidence has gone. There is a real deep lack of confidence in their abilities now because being in school and then out of school, their sports clubs being closed, not being able to socialise. I remember a couple of lads telling me that they're really missing their football. They're really frustrated at the fact that they've lost their endurance, they've lost their skills, and you get a real sense of that lack of hope just draining away from them. And that was a good couple of months ago. So where that confidence level is now, I would argue, has probably gone even lower. So I think we are going to have to consider, how do we support better or invest more into some of those third sector areas who are on the front line, who are in the areas of youth work and mentoring, who can right now be able to start to build those relationships again, develop the trust, so that young people can confidently take up the opportunities that we are laying out for them. So there's a couple of layers there. It's definitely worse than it was before COVID-19, but I think with the partnerships that we've got, with the work that we will do in terms of rebooting that confidence, we have a real chance to stem that loss of confidence disappearing altogether, so that we can see them putting their hands up and saying, I want that job, I want to go for that opportunity. It's tough times, but we've got some of the solutions as well.
Thank you, Diane. So staying with you for the first part of a question and then coming to Andy for the second part. This is from Eloise Linford at Hits Radio at 2:02. Eloise asks Diane, how will you decide who gets the food cards? And then the question to Andy is, do you think 300 in each borough is enough after so many families have faced hardship this year? So Diane first and then Andy.
Well, thank you for the question. I think it's a really good question in a sense of, we know that food poverty is such a priority at the moment, and it is a big agenda that affects those young people, those families who actually require those vouchers and those food cards. I know that the team that Andy's leading in terms of No Child Goes Hungry has a real good sense of what that relationship looks like and who will get the cards first. And I think, Andy, you're probably best to pick up in terms of what happens next and how that looks moving forward.
Yeah, thanks, Diane. So, of course, I mean, I would agree. You know, 300 isn't as many as we would want to be able to give, but it is still 300 lives in every borough that will be improved. Really kind of helped in a massive way through this. So, you know, if you think about it, this is intended to get to people who really have fallen through all of the gaps. And the way we will hand them out is building on what we did during half term, which is basically community workers. So people working for councils, youth workers are able to be given the cards, and then they can empower the young people who they think really need one, for whom, you know, they're struggling to find other solutions. So the experience of it in half term was really positive. The workers, frontline workers, told us that they could have used double the amount of cards, and this is why we have increased the number. They said they were a lifeline for many young people who had no other options, and it just means they can go into a shop or a supermarket and get a healthy meal. So we're working with the Mayor's charity on this. As I say, we're having to work creatively. The co-op have been a great support to us. So these emergency food card pilots, as I say, will be delivered through frontline youth workers in our districts, and you know, we're really pleased that we're able to put this in place ahead of the holidays, and we particularly for young people whose parents don't qualify, let's say, because there's a number of gaps between the scheme and the scheme that's been introduced, the COVID winter grant scheme. So that's families who are above the threshold for benefits but still struggling financially. There's those who are recently unemployed but waiting for benefits, so you know, that 5-week wait for universal credit. There are people who are self-isolating but don't meet the criteria of the test and trace grant, and a lot of those people out there, people with no recourse to public funds, and of course the 3 million families who've just been ignored when it comes to the support provided during the pandemic. So there's a lot of people falling through the gaps out there, and these cards are just trying to plug those gaps. But you're right, Eloise, we could do with more, and we will be looking to build No Child Goes Hungry as a Greater Manchester scheme into the new year, where we do so much more than this.
Thank you, Andy. And so the final question, and this one's for Arinola, the member of the Youth Advisory Group. Arinola, this is from Liam, 154. He asks, as a young person, what does it mean to you to see the local authority doing something that will benefit young people, especially in the midst of this global pandemic? So that's a question for you, Arinola, but then perhaps Diane would like to come in to wrap things up, and then maybe finally Andy. Firstly, you, Arinola. You're just on mute, Arinola.
Honestly, it's been really reassuring to know that, like, the government, the local authority essentially, is caring about young people's prospects, because a lot of young people have been scared. I know young people that are presently homeless, and organisations that help with homelessness have really helped them, and we need more funding in that aspect, and we need more funding in the aspects of mental health for young people. Like, even in my case, I've been so afraid during this pandemic at the beginning of it, what it meant for young people, and just like there was no sense of certainty, and now this guarantee offers a guarantee for our futures, and it's really exciting to be a part of it. I feel like, for me personally, knowing that the local authority is thinking about young people offers a sense of relief, because I have personally benefited from services, local authority services. I have been involved with a charitable organisation called Young Identity, who helped me personally with well-being, with poetry, with my art. And I really respect people like Wayne who are helping with the guarantee, because people like them are who are going to help young people's future and push us forward. And the futures of young people is the future of Manchester, is the future of the UK. So for me personally, it's been really reassuring. It's offered some sense of certainty that some of our recommendations will definitely be used and it will help young people. So for me, I feel like the only word I can really use to describe my feeling is reassurance. And it offers like a comfort blanket for young people, because at the beginning of this pandemic, a lot of young people felt forgotten about and felt like they weren't being thought about at all. And it was really scary for a lot of young people. And I feel like this guarantee and the local authority actually listening to what young people need is really going to be a benefit for everyone. So I'm really happy about it. I'm really happy about everything Andy mentioned about securing more help for homeless youth, about the food scheme. I'm really excited about everything that he said, and I'm really happy that I got to work with Diane. And thank you, Wayne, as well, for your contributions. And I'm just really excited, and I really feel like the local authority is going to do something amazing, and in the next coming months and years we're really going to see how this guarantee has benefited young people's lives, and I truly think it will. So I'm really excited and I feel reassured, basically. So thank you for the question.
And on the back of that, I would say we started and set out with the Young Persons Guarantee with one thing and one thing in mind. How do we secure the future prosperity of young people's futures? That was the guiding principle that we had in order to respond to the needs of young people. In order for us to get that right, we had to listen. And we had to listen really well to a number of young people within our bracket of 11 to 30 to ensure that we were not going off doing something that was easy or that suited us or that had some glorified recommendations. So we did listen, and we listened really hard. So to be able to hear Andy today say that we do have the backing of the Greater Manchester leaders across those 4 themes that emerged from June and up until this point is really encouraging. But at the same time, I think we do have to remember it's about what happens next now, isn't it? We've got a clear roadmap. We've got a clear sense of where we're headed and where we want to go. Young people have told us that. So it's the next steps now. Are we going to be able to become the first digitally connected city region? And if that's the case, let's get the partners on board and let's make that happen. If we are going to ensure that our young people are well, they feel that they have mental health services that meet their needs, let's get the partners on board that are going to respond to the needs of what we heard. Making effective transitions has never been more important right now, because we really don't have a good sense of what is waiting for young people. So in terms of driving up more commitments with our partners is going to be crucial. And then finally, on reducing economic inequalities, this is something that has existed for a really long time, long before any of us had heard of COVID. So we've really got to focus on what our action is here, and we are going to need the backing of our leaders to change the landscape, to transform the landscape, so that those young people who consistently told us we need a more diverse economy, we need a more diverse strategy and a recruitment policy, I'll be driving that forward along with Andy and the team, provided we can get that continued backing, the resource where we need it and where we can get it. But this is a positive start, and I'm very proud, like Aranola and like the wider team, to be part of this and being given the opportunity to make a difference. And I'd like to thank you for that opportunity, Andy.
Well, Diane, you couldn't have risen better to that occasion and that opportunity. So really, this report you've given me today is everything I hoped for when I asked you to do this work. As I say, it's kind of brought a bit of light to the end of a dark year. And the good thing about today is it's not all been sort of vague things. So we've talked about some very practical things, haven't we? Food cards that people will be able to use this Christmas, so that's a very practical thing. Bus passes for those year 11s, and that's gonna help. devices and connectivity, digital kit for young people, all of that, really practical stuff. But I just want to sort of pick up on what Aranola was talking about going further really, and giving two other things to our young people. Number one, hope. I think we all have an obligation here. Wayne and his business world, if you like, need to think about how they can give some hope to this next generation. But all of us in the public sector as well, and everybody, how do we give some hope now to young people? But then secondly, confidence. And I'm just going to finish on this point because I feel this very personally. It's why I have prioritised young people as mayor when I came in. Often they've been the target for cuts when hard times hit local authorities. And I think that's a bad strategy because, as Aranola said, you're kind of cutting off the future if you do that. So I wanted to reverse that when I came in as mayor. As far as I'm concerned, young people should always be the priority for investment if you're going to build a strong, positive, productive society. And that's the vision we're trying to build. And the reason I feel this personally is because it's etched on my mind, graduating from university, coming back to Manchester in the early 1990s, and really struggling to make an effective transition, Diane. I couldn't find anything. And I wrote hundreds and hundreds of CVs to all kinds of companies here. And I've said before, but my first job was an unpaid job as a reporter on the Middleton Guardian. That was my very first job, but I had no money, not a penny. And I was commuting from the Lee area to Middleton. And I never forget that, never ever have forgotten it, because it's so easy for the stuffing to be knocked out of young people, isn't it? And the feeling you have, the feeling I had at that time, like I couldn't get on and do anything. When I saw friends from university doing all these amazing things, it really, really hit me hard. And in the end, I had to leave Manchester and work in London at that time because I couldn't find anything, but I wanted to stay here. And I look all these years on now at a city region that just has so many other opportunities than it had in the early 90s. There's massive employers here now, the BBC, GCHQ, Amazon, Bank of New York. I mean, Shoesmiths, you could go through a whole range of massive names that quite simply weren't here at that time. And you look at all these buildings that we have, like these amazing skyscrapers that we've got. The city looks so different. But here's the point, and I think this is where we've got to in Greater Manchester. When young people from our 10 boroughs look from where they are to the city centre, I don't think they yet believe that those jobs are for them, that they will be supported to walk through the doors of those brand new buildings and find their future inside. I think they think they're for other people who've moved from other parts of the country to Manchester. And this is the next chapter, Diane, in our city region's history. We're going to throw open the doors, aren't we, of the amazing organisations that we have in this city region. And we're going to send a message to our young people that actually this is for you. You have the talent to work in these places, and we're going to give you those pathways through. And for those with the biggest barriers in front of them, we're going to put in place the leadership and the mentoring programs. We're going to announce an initiative with Operation Black Vote in the new year to create those opportunities to help particularly communities that are underrepresented in Greater Manchester society. We're going to help you through. We're going to help you find those opportunities. And that, for me, is where this city region goes next. A city region that taps all of the talent from all of the communities in all 10 of its boroughs and sends a message to young people that we back you and we are going to help you get on in life because we believe in you. And that is what our pass is all about, a statement of our belief in our young people. And we're making that further commitment today to today's year 11s. So I hope they get that message today. The RPass will be there for you in September next year, so you can follow your dreams and you can go to the college of your choice or go and get the job that you want if you found it on GMAX. So that's the vision, Diane, isn't it? A city region that makes the most of all of its young talent and helps everyone fulfil their potential. You've done absolutely brilliant work in helping map the next course of this journey, and we look forward to working with you in the new year to making these recommendations a reality. Thanks for joining us, everybody. To Wayne, to Aranola, all of the team that's been involved, to you, Diane, particularly, to all our colleagues in the media for joining us today. And we hope you have a good break over Christmas And I think we can all say here's to a better 2021. Thanks, everybody.